n characters giving read4. So we are giving this API. This API is called Read4 API. So it is defined a buffer. So the buffer 4 is a list of characters. So for example, this is the buffer 4. And this API Read4 will return an integer. So for example, so the Read4 with buffer 4. So this is a buffer 4. Yeah, it is an empty string in it is an array inside the array. It is an empty string times 4. So if we call this API Read4 buffer 4, so we're gonna put a b c d inside the buffer, and this is not buff. This should be buffer 4 because basically we call this API buffer 4 and we're gonna put something inside buffer 4. But yeah, but it didn't. This question is just we put the buffer 4 inside a buffer, so it is like this ABCD, and then the pointer will point it to the next one. It will point it to E because there will be ABCDEF, yeah, until K. So it will point it to E. So if we call it again, so inside the buffer 4, it will have the characters like this. But for the buffer, it is not like this. Yeah, this is why you cannot understand it, because everything is wrong according to this description and also description here. Yeah, because this description is also wrong. Actually, this buffer should be like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So this is the buffer. And E, F, G, H is just for this buffer 4. Yeah. Now let's call buffer 4 again. It should be the buffer 4, it should be I, J, K, H, and here should be H. And for the buffer, it will be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I, J, H. And in total, and these 3 arrays should be connected, and then it is the buffer. But the buffer called that. So everything is wrong, I have to say. Now let's try to solve it. Yeah, actually this should be the buffer 4, and this is the buffer 4. And yeah, and the buffer should be like this. Yeah, this is the first buffer, and the second buffer should be like this, and then this gonna be the third buffer. Yeah, and finally we got a buffer like this. This is buffer, but we need to also return an integer because the return type is an integer of the actual characters read. Yeah. So how can we solve it? Yeah, we're gonna first prepare this buffer 4. So let's prepare a buffer 4. So this is a buffer 4, and our return is we need to return an integer. Let me put a 0 at the moment. Yeah, we're gonna prepare 2 things. So for one thing, we're gonna put something inside the buff, and then we're gonna return an integer. So this integer is to call is the number of characters. Yeah. Now let's this integer is the number of actual characters read. If it is n characters, it's gonna read n. If it is less than n characters, yeah, maybe this n is 100, but there are only 12 characters, so we're gonna return 12. Yeah, it's gonna be the minimum of this 12 and this n. Yeah, a minimum of the length of the file and this number n. So this will be the final return. Let me prepare of num read. So this is the number of read for each time. So from the beginning, the number of read is just 0. Now we are going to check this read. If the number read is less than n. Yeah, so from the beginning, this number read is 0. If this 0 is less than the number of characters, so we're gonna execute. We're gonna prepare a current read. So the current read would be called the function. It's gonna be the read4 with the buffer 4. Yeah. So this means we're gonna put something inside the buffer 4. So for example, the character is in this example, the character is A, B, C, D, E. So we're gonna first put A, B, C, D inside this buffer 4. So the buffer 4 will have A, B, C, D. Now we're gonna put this buffer 4 inside the buff. So let's check the length. So the length is gonna be the minimum of current read. So this current read may be 4, or it can be the n minus the number of read. It will be the minimum of the two. So for example, it can be 4 or it can be 1 if this n minus the number of read is just 1. So the length is just 1. We just read 1 character, not 4 character. Now we're gonna put something inside the buff. So the buffer would be the number of read 2, number of read plus the length. This length means how long we can put it inside the buffer, and it should be equal to the buffer 4. Inside of the buffer 4, it should be the length. It will be put it inside. Now we're gonna update the number of read. So the number of read should plus equal to the length. And we're gonna check the length. If this length is less than 4, so we're gonna break it. So this is the entire code. Finally, we just need to return the number of read. Let me first submit it and explain why it works. I'm gonna use some example to explain it. As you can see, it works. The time complexity is just let's say just ON. It is just the minimum of file length and minimum of this number N. And this number N is not a big number. Let me check. And it is 1000, and file length is 500. It is the minimum of 500 and 1000. This is the time complexity. Let me try to use this example to explain it. Maybe I'm gonna use let me use the third example and the fourth example to explain why it works. So for this example, so this case 3, we have ABCD. First of all, this current read will read 4 characters ABCD. It's gonna put ABCD inside the buffer. Let me print out the current read and the buffer. You can understand why it is. Let's check what's inside the current read and buffer. You see, the current read is 4. It means we read 4 characters, and we're gonna put this ABCD inside the buffer 4. Now we're gonna check the length. So the length is the minimum of current read and n minus number read. So this is 4 because we read 4 characters, and n is 12. 12 minus 0, it is 4. So we're gonna put these 4 characters inside the buffer. If we put it inside, the number of read should also plus equal to this length because we're gonna put it in the next positions. Next, we're gonna read another 4 characters. We're gonna put it inside buffer 4, and then we're gonna put it after the buff. Now we put ABCD after the buff, and lastly, we just put 1, 2, 3, 4 after this buff ABCD. Now let me explain this one, the case 4. So we have Leetcode, and this n is 5. So for the first time, we're gonna have a current read. It is 4, and the buffer is this LEET. We should know about it. Now this length is just 4 because n is 5 minus 0, it is 5, and this is the minimum. It's gonna be 4. So we're gonna read the first 4 characters. It is the leet. We're gonna put the leet inside the buff, and the num of read plus the length. So the num of read is 4 currently. So for the next one, the num read is 4. 4 is less than n. 4 is less than 5. It is okay. So the current read. So the current read is still 4 because because we have the Leetcode, we still have another 4 characters, so this is why the current read is still 4. After Leet, we're gonna read the code. It's gonna be 4, and the buff is the code, CODE, as you can see from that. So this is the buff, but the length is just 1. This is current read 4, n minus current read 5 minus 4, so it is 1. So the length will be 1, because we only need to read at most 5 characters. We've already read 4, so next we're gonna read a C character. So how can we put C inside the buff? So we're gonna use the numRead with numRead plus the length. So the length is 1. So the buff with length, so 0 to 1, it is 1 character. So we're gonna put C inside the buffer. If we put it inside the numRead plus the length, the num of read would be equal to 5. Right? Yeah. But we can check the length. If this length is less than 4, it means we can break it. Yeah, it means we've already finished the reading. Yeah, so we can break it. Or if this numRead equals to n, because for the next loop it will be equal to n, we're gonna break this while loop. We're gonna also break this while loop. So finally, we just need to return the number of read. Yeah, let me just comment this one. So you're gonna check what's gonna happen. Yeah, let's see. So it will have an infinite loop. Yeah, because we never break it, because even the length is less than 4, it means there's less characters. We have to break it. Yeah. Now let me edit. As you can see, it works. So we have to check the length. If this length is less than 4, so we can break it directly, because there is no characters. Yeah. Thank you for watching. See you next time.